Hey everybody, welcome to the Sunday Review Show. Today we're going to be taking a look at Oniken. It's an action platformer developed by indie studio Joymash. In Oniken you are Zaku, a super tough mercenary with a gigantic sword. Yep, I'm liking the sound of this already. Kinda reminds me of Gatsu from the Berserk anime, and that's definitely a good thing. You're helping a rebel faction defeat a tyrannical robot empire known as the Oniken, hence the title of the game. There's a little more to it than that, but without revealing any spoilers in the late game story, I'll just leave it at that. The story's simple enough, but considering this is an action platformer harkening back to the 8-bit era, it's not really a big deal. The story is still pretty enjoyable as it's told through 8-bit cutscenes similar to that of Ninja Gaiden on the Nintendo, another game I've reviewed in the past. Let's talk about the gameplay real quick. The controls are extremely tight and responsive, which is something I'm a huge advocate for when it comes to precision platforming like this. The jump is particularly precise, it feels very fluid. If I had to compare it to any other game, I would say Ninja Gaiden, because that's probably, in my opinion, one of the, just that game handles so well. You have two methods of attack, your main sword slash, and then you pick up a sub item in a grenade. The grenades add a little bit of range to your short range sword attack. There's also an upgrade for the sword that you can grab in the stage, kind of similar to the chain whip in Castlevania, except in this, if you take damage, you slowly lose the sword upgrade. However, if you pick up multiple upgrades, you'll get multiple levels of it, let's say. When you first pick it up, you get two little pellets similar to the Mega Man health, so you can take 2 hits and still keep it, but if you get more on top of that upgrade, you can continue to increase the health of your sword. And that's useful considering you don't want to waste all your grenades and you want a little bit of range, so you want to try and keep this power. When you have at least 3 sword power-ups, or should I say 3 sword health, I don't really know what I want to call it here, you can invoke a Berserker Rage, which is extremely useful against bosses. It's just like Zaku starts to blink red, and you just, when you slash, the beam comes out as well as 2 other beams, and just his attack is multiplied by insane levels, just insane level. There's 6 stages in total. Your first run, considering you're not gonna, probably one-shot the thing, probably take you between 3 and 4 hours. It's not a terribly long game, but considering the asking price, 3 to 4 hours for $7 is not a huge deal. After you beat the game 1 time or 2 times, I'd imagine you can probably run through this thing in about an hour or so, maybe less. Kind of similar to how you quit, the first time you play a Mega Man game, it would take you about 4 to 5 hours to beat because you're figuring it all out. And then after that, all subsequent runs take about an hour, if not less. So if I had to compare it to anything, I'd say it's like Mega Man replay value. I'll give it a Mega Man out of 10. There's also a boss rush mode and a bonus stage after you complete the game, so there's always a little bit more to go back to outside of just replaying the game for the sheer joy of it. The Steam version, currently it's going to get worked into the Desora version according to the developer, but right now the Steam version only has hardcore mode, which is basically a mode that you have to beat the game in 1 life. So if you didn't think the game was hard enough, then grab it on Steam and play it hardcore, or wait for it to come out on Desora like me. The level design is varied from robotic houses, snowy mountains, weird brain palaces, a jungle, and every now and again you ride a jet ski or a motorbike just to break up that platforming element. You even fight a polar bear. What games can you say you fight a fucking polar bear in? If I had one complaint about the gameplay, I'd say that sometimes the boss balancing feels a little off, and this is mainly due to how freaking powerful Berserker mode is. In one stage in particular, I think it was the Brain Palace, I fought a boss, and right at the end, since the crates are all randomized, I got really lucky and picked up 2 sword power-ups. So as soon as I started fighting the boss, I immediately hit that Berserk button and just went Wolvie Berserk style on him. And that was it. I just stood there and mashed. If you are really good at the game and always have that Berserk for the bosses, it feels a little unbalanced. Although this isn't always the case, as some of the bosses are just really big, or you fight them on a jet bike, or, there's just some kind of weird pattern element to them where you gotta, go on the top of a moving platform or whatever. But for the bosses that you just stand and slash, yeah, the Berserk's a little OP. But I don't mind. I want to talk about the graphics for a second. They look straight out of a Nintendo game. A good Nintendo game, mind. The graphics actually remind me a lot of Contra with their extra detail and expertly done shading. Plus the main character doesn't have a face. How can that not remind you of Contra? If you're into the 8-bit look, this game nails it. Nails it! And not in a bad way, like it's a copycat sort of way, but in a very authentic way. If you showed your kid this game, he would assume it was on the Nintendo Entertainment System and wasn't just released a year or 2 ago. I also would like to mention that some of the sprites, the hero sprite, and some enemy sprites, a sprite is basically the character, have been updated for the Steam release. I played mine on Desora, so all the gameplay you're seeing is from the Desora version. So just note that the game actually looks a little bit better now on Steam. So if you play it, you're going to get a little treat. I know I like the way the new stuff looked. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the music for a second. Probably one of the weaker aspects, but still good. Although the cutscenes in particular have very good music. The ending theme is especially wicked. It was also used in the trailer. It's that I'm just gonna play it here. The stages all have fitting enough music and mesh well with the gameplay. No complaints. I mean, there's nothing epic in comparison to other Nintendo games such as Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man, Castlevania, but it's not bad either. It's just right. It does what it has to do. It sets the tone. Also note, again, that I'm playing the unupdated Desora version of the game, and apparently the Steam release has had some rearranged tracks and such, so the music might be a little better on your game if you're playing it on Steam. My final words for this review is that if you're itching for an 8-bit classic platformer that isn't a game you've probably already played, Oniken is not going to disappoint you. As a matter of fact, it's going to probably do nothing but put a smile on your face. And if it's not putting a smile on your face, it's pissing you off. And if it's pissing you off, that's good too, because that's what old school games are supposed to do. It's tough but fair difficulty, interesting stages, varied bosses, tight controls, and engaging yet simple story will definitely keep you coming back for more. So play Oniken, or you can just watch me play it.